I'm Coach Dave. Welcome back to Coach's Corner.
Come on.
Welcome back, Coach Dave McDonough, Coach's Corner podcast. I got my friend back, fellow coach now, and Nick Newell at a Fighting Arts Academy in Stratford.
Milford.
Milford.
Close enough.
Close enough. Welcome back, Nick. Appreciate you coming down again. Now, you were on the show originally in the beginning, which I really, really appreciate you coming down. Now we're going to kind of dwell into a little bit of some other topics that we've been talking about. But before we do, you've been very busy over there with your team over the last couple of months. A lot of big things going on over there, a lot of guys fighting, and a lot of great success. I want to congratulate you on that. You guys do a great job. If you haven't checked out his gym, it's definitely worth a shot. One of the best combat sport gyms in the state, Fighting Arts Academy. But tell us a little bit what's been going on with you guys, and then we could kind of get into, what we've been talking about.
Yeah, trying to stay on the path, trying to stay focused. And one of the things about coaching is there's a lot of moving parts. And it's more than just good technique. It's more than calculating the right amount of training. It's balancing all those things at the same time and reading fighters and treating everyone different, because everybody is different, to find that right balance that works best for your team and works best for your athletes, and guides you to be successful in competition, but also helping people outside of competition as well.
Yeah. Now, do you feel with MMA, there's more, you just said moving parts, and, I come more out of the boxing world, and now thankful to you being able to work with you guys and see the inner part of training for MMA and, combat sports. There's a lot of coaches. There's a lot of stuff going on, and, you kind of lead it up. How do you balance that? Because, watching camps with you and stuff that's going on with multiple fighters, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult job, right? It's not a one-man job. So for me to be successful, I feel like kind of checking my own ego and bringing in people that I trust and people that I feel add value to the team, right, is a very important part. And it's picking the right people. It's not just picking anyone. And one of the things I learned over the years is about finding someone that you can have an open line of conversation with, and you can go over things. And like, if you're doing something that they feel is wrong, you're going to talk about that and you're going to fix it. And I found that with Coach Roger Denton a while ago, and we have a good open line of communication. And we're generally on the same page, but sometimes we see things a little different. We discuss it, we fix it, and we go from there. And I brought you in to help specialize with the boxing of a few of my fighters, and it's really paid dividends. And because I can't look over everything, and especially when you have people that are specialists, it really helps fine tune the little things that go a long way.
Yeah, I think what people don't realize, it takes a village.
Yeah,
it takes a village, and not only coaches. Outside support, you have strength and conditioning coaches, you have nutritionists, you have, all types of people supporting fighters at every level. I always felt, a team, because we all, like you said, you see things different than Roger. Roger has experience, you have experience, but at the end of the day, that has to mesh into what is the fighter, building the fighter for the fight, okay? Because look, that's what the main part is here. How do we make him or her successful? And yeah, we could agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, what's going to work for the team? And then as well, as a fighter, your team around you you have to be confident as a fighter with your team around you. Like, if you're doubting your team, or there's uncertainty, or it's not consistent, it's not going to benefit you. So, watching your program is more than just, coming in, training, fighting. there's a lot of aspects towards it, and you want to, see where, as a coach, where you can bring a fighter. So we were talking a little bit before about mental aspects of fighting, mentality. What is some of the things that you are working on for your fighters and, for mentality and mental aspects?
Yeah, I mean, aside from me just talking to my fighters, I feel like a interesting perspective that I've been kind of like delving into and like asking people about when it comes to fighting is a lot of the fight game is mental, right? So if you watch someone get knocked out really bad, I feel like before you fight, you should watch some pretty bad knockouts. And when you look at those, do you think, hey, I could be doing that one day? Or do you think, oof, that could be me? And I feel like it's like an interesting way to look at it because when I was young and I was looking at, I'd see something, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to do that, and then you get a little older and you get a little more responsibility. You're like, whoa, maybe that could happen to me, I feel like a little bit of balance with that is good, but I feel like it's an interesting thing to ask people. And I've been asking a few people around my gym just to kind of get their mentality. Like, when you watch this, what do you think? And I get different answers, and usually the answers kind of line up based around what, type of person they are and whether or not they want to be a fighter. So it's kind of like an interesting little way to look at things.
So, you're not your average coach. Now, I've worked with you a couple of fights now and getting to know you and your team better. You're a real sit down, thinking, planning out, tactical type of coach. Does that come from your background as a fighter? Were you always that way, or is this your evolution into coaching now?
So I feel like I had good guidance coming up when I started fighting. My coach, Jeremy Levashevsky, he runs Fighting Arts Academy out of Springfield. With him, he's like my friend, but he's also my coach. So I kind of am able to kind of like keep that line appropriate in different situations. But with him, we always had like an open line of discussion, and he let me talk about the things that I feel are working, and then he gave me the ideas of things that he thought that were working, and we kind of found that balance there with him and I, where he was receptive to my input and he took it and he worked around that and he made game plans and things based off that. So it wasn't just like I'm everything, you're stupid, right, I call all the shots. He was very receptive of how people feel, and he took that into account. And I feel like that helps, because if you're telling someone to do something and they're not 100% confident in it themselves, then that could end the wrong way, right? Of course, there's also that balance of the fighter's not the boss. I'm not the boss.
We've talked about this.
You're not the boss. And with him, final say was him every single time. With me, if you say so, then that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to have full confidence in it, because that's the best way to go about things, is to believe in the people around you, believe in what they say, and believe that what you're doing is going to work.
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, if you get a fighter that wants to be the coach and dictate how the camp is going to be, look, they have input. We can sit down as a team and have input, because, we have to work with personality. So we have to know what personality we have working there. But at the end of the day, I'm with you. I'm not going to have a fighter dictate everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the end say of it like that. With your team now, right? With your team, many different people in there, and you're steering the ship. Are there times that you have to just step in and say, no, we're going to go this way? And how does that go for you? You know what I mean? Where you take the lead and say, no, we're going this way. I understand what you're saying as a coach, but that's not how we're going to prepare for this fight.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'll tell people like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm thinking, like, oh, I think I should take him down. I'm like, I think you should move around on your feet. You should hit him a little more on your feet first, and you should follow this before we try anything, touch them a few times and see how it feels.
Yeah.
It's a fight by fight basis. It's a style by style basis, because I have guys that are more apt to grapple and I have guys that are more apt to strike. And it's like figuring out what the opponent is. Does the opponent like to strike? Do they like to grapple? And respecting what your opponent offers, taking that into account, but also leaning into your own strengths too.
Yeah.
I feel like with athletes, it's important to study, it's important to learn about your opponent, but it's also mostly important to focus on yourself and build your own skills and really kind of fight towards your strengths.
Are we seeing that more? Are you seeing that more in the gym from when you came up as an athlete and a fighter? Look, technology is advancing so fast. The ability to study tape, the ability to find, we can pull up on our phones right away. This is the fighter, this is that. Also, fighters are becoming smarter, I feel, than, the rap that they get from the past, that they're just guys that go in and beat the shit out of everybody. They don't have a brain, right? But do you feel from when you were coming up in the game, there's an evolution now with these young fighters, and what kind of input are you getting from the guys that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a case by case basis, and sometimes that intelligent athlete type fighter will lose to that tough caveman type fighter. And it's all there's so many nuances that go into planning. And I had a guy that we were doing an exhibition fight, and he was fighting and the guy was destroying him. Like the guy was clearly better than him. And he came back in between rounds and I said, hey man, I'm going to give you some advice right now. I need you to make it ugly. I want you to throw a lot of hooks. I want you to move forward, throw the technique out the window and just be aggressive. And he broke the guy and he won. And I don't know if that was smarter fighting or the other guy was clearly better than him and more experienced. I think it honestly was like a little bit of a mismatch at first. I was like, oh, this wasn't a good match because my guy was kind of a beginner, and it ended up working out. So having that primal fighter instinct sometimes is more valuable than someone that has these skills and overthinks. But if you can have both, then that's when you are next level, when you're tough and you can think and you can assess and you can make adjustments. That's the one thing. People have skills. People can fight. They can strike. They can grapple. They can kick, punch, whatever. But they can't make adjustments when things go wrong. And I feel like having that level of intelligence is what separates the elite from the regular people.
Talk about adjustments, right? In MMA, combat sports, we have kicking, we have grappling, striking, so many things that are happening in a fight. Do you think it's harder for them to make the adjustment because they fall back into their comfort level of what they do well?
Yeah, well, you can have a fighter that's like had so much success grappling. Like I've won all my fights by submission, and they kind of fall in love with it. So when it comes time, like, hey, maybe you should strike, they keep falling back to what they're comfortable with. And I think part of fighting is maturing and realizing that it doesn't always have to be the same way and being able to make those adjustments. Same thing with strikers. Like, I'm like, hey, I need you to take this guy down. Like, do you have it in you to switch gears and kind of switch things up without kind of falling apart? And that's a problem that I had in my own career sometimes too. I wish that in certain fights, maybe I threw a little more strikes. I stayed on the feet a little bit more because I was always so dominant with my grappling and my takedowns, especially coming from a college wrestling background. But
Right.
I mean, with striking, I was really kind of just beating up everyone except for maybe like one or two fights. The guys were better than me and I have 20 fights. So, I could have kind of done that a little bit more myself, but that's why I'm coaching now, because I was willing to make the sacrifices and I was willing to put myself out there and I was willing to sacrifice a little piece of me out there to learn these lessons. So my guys don't have to necessarily learn them themselves.
Yeah. Now, you talk about yourself and, what maybe you should have done differently as a fighter. And I'm going to go back to the evolution of the sport, right? We're starting to see people strike more. We're starting to see different teams coming in. Tape is a big thing. If you're watching tape on someone grappling, as a coach, you figure out a plan of what our attack is going to be in that fight. With that being said, how are you guys evolving in the gym as the sport's evolving?
I think just as important as teaching good technique, it's important to prioritize the right techniques based on what you're going after and what you're doing. There's certain moves that it's good to separate training, right? It's good to do jiu-jitsu as itself. It's good to do boxing in itself. And it's good to do like wrestling as wrestling. And these things will help you work with specialists and also specialize your own game. So if you want to get sharper boxing and you're just kickboxing all the time and throwing kicks, you're not going to get your hands as good as if you're just only throwing hands. So for me, it's important that you do that, but you also prioritize the things that transfer over and that can help you in the sport. If I'm doing jiu-jitsu, sport jiu-jitsu, I'm not inverting the whole time or pulling guard or sitting on my butt if I want to be an MMA fighter. Now, if I want to do sport jiu-jitsu, that's fine. You can do that. You have to do that, right? But it all comes down to your priorities and what your end goal is. Aside from obviously teaching technique the proper way, is taking the techniques that you need to get to the next level and doing that. When I was fighting, I prioritized top pressure, grappling, and chokes, and it paid dividends. And even when I just go do sport jiu-jitsu, I can do that at a pretty high level, and I use all the same moves.
So, how do you prioritize a camp with a fighter in MMA? With all this stuff going on, you get a fight for one of your fighters. How do you break out the training so that the guy is equally prepared? We've touched base, plan A, B, C, and D. How that, not only running boxing camp is difficult, but on your end, to prepare for that's got to be twice as hard because you have so many things to cover in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I guess, it's like different things. Like what days do we grapple? What days do we strike? Does the person have a job?
Yeah.
Do they not have a job? What's their free time like? So it's different based on everyone. I try to have a little bit of striking and a little bit of grappling every day. So the guys that have to go to job and work during the day can come at night and get both. And the guys that don't work and are focused on fighting or can do 2 a days and work in between, can get the looks that they need morning and night. And it's all different based on every single person.
Yeah.
It's finding that balance, right? You don't want to do too much. You don't want to do too little. You have to make it just right. And that's one of the hardest things in coaching. And no matter how good you are, you don't always 100% get it right. And
no.
Every person, every fight is different. But all you could do is do your best to try to find that balance and do your best to try to find that right amount of training in the camp.
I think if you know at the end of camp that you did everything for the preparation of that fighter, you could kind of walk away and feel good about it. But you're right, we don't always make the right decisions here or there. There's a lot of sleepless nights. Should I do this? What, replaying training in your head, sparring, tape, everything, leading up to the fight. But let me ask you this, Nick. From your career as a professional, and was it a hard transition from you going from professional to coaching? And, talking about mentality, you have a very strong mentality, hardworking mentality. Now, sometimes when fighters go into coaching, it doesn't carry over very well. Mm-hmm. How was it with you in the beginning from transitioning from a professional to a full-time coach now?
I think with me, I think a mentality is a strong aspect of what makes me into the coach that I am, because I'm not particularly athletic guy. I wouldn't say I'm like goofy or anything like that, but like there's nothing amazing about me. I'm not really super fast. Or gifted. When I first started wrestling, I lost my first 17 matches before I won one. So it's not like I picked this up easy. I learned the hard way. I had a lot of lessons in my life.
Let me stop on that again. We'll throw the mentality aspect in here because this is kind of the topic we're going with today a little bit, right? You lose 17 fights. How do you go back and keep training after that? Like, you didn't lose one or two, you know, that's hard at any level for anybody. And I think a lot of people today would not be able to, you know, keep going back to the gym, back to the drawing board. What drove you at that time?
I was young, and
Yeah.
when I first joined the wrestling team, I didn't know. I thought it was maybe going to be like WWE. And my dad tried to get me to wrestle when I was younger, but I never really fully understood it.
Yeah.
I liked other things. And when I got older, I was like, okay, I wanna wrestle. And I joined, and I lost and I lost and I lost. But there was a kid on my team that I could kind of go back and forth with. So I was like, oh, this is kind of fun, you know? And then the guys needed me on the team because I was the only guy under 103 pounds.
So you had to cover a weight class.
I covered the weight class. They needed me. So I was like, oh, I would love when I would get a forfeit because I would win and the team would score points, even though I was like losing all my other matches. And I was like, oh, well, if I quit now, if you're not good at something and you quit right now, then I'm just going to be horrible at this for the rest of my life. And I'm going to have to walk around, especially with fighting and wrestling, I'm going to have to walk around the rest of my life knowing that probably anyone could beat me up. And that just didn't sit well with me. And then I won my first match ever, and it felt like I won an Olympic gold medal. It was like the best feeling in the world. And I was like, I need more of this. And from then, I was hooked.
Yeah.
I went and I trained all off season, because the guys on the team were like pressuring me. They're like, you need to train all year round, man. You're not good enough. You know, you need to work while other people aren't working. So my friend Pete Betsavenga actually pushed me to join like wrestling clubs and do stuff like that. And I came back the next year and I thought I was just getting easy matches, because I started winning all these matches. I was like, oh, I keep getting like the easiest matches. And then I just realized that I just got good in the off season.
Put the work in.
Yeah. And that kind of set my tone on how I look at things and how I approach things. And I'm very grateful for the adversity that I faced in competition, because I feel like mentality wise, that helped guide me in my career, and it helped guide me as a coach, because I understand what it's like to take that walk. I understand what it's like to put yourself out there, especially having one hand. I
adversity.
Understand. Yeah, I understand what it's like to have eyes on me, because I feel like people are always paying attention to me, whatever I do. It's not who I am. I'm not the one-handed fighter or the one-handed coach. I'm not that. It's not what defines me, but it's a part of who I am. And I feel like growing and maturing is realizing that that's just the truth, right? When I walk into the bank, I'm the one-handed guy in the bank to a lot of people, and just being okay with that and realizing that that's just the way things are is something that I feel has helped me grow as a person and be more comfortable with myself and the way I am, and more comfortable in competition and more comfortable putting myself out there. Because if it wasn't for the adversity I faced in my life, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Talk about adversity, right? And, you know, you had yours, but fighters have adversity in their lives, which a lot of people don't realize, okay? They see the end result. They see at the night of the fight. They don't see all the stuff, the injuries, the emotional moments. You know, fighters, you know, they're tough, don't get me wrong, but they're people also. So there's letdowns. There's letdowns from training. Emotions start to come out. You know, your adversity to be resilient and to keep training and to make yourself better, does that make it harder for you when your expectation out of your fighters because of the way you were? Do you expect the same out of your fighters, or, you know, it's a different day today? We don't see fighters as resilient or willing to work as hard. But they're willing to work, but maybe not what you did. And as a coach, is that your style to gravitate towards a fighter that's really a hard-working type of guy?
I mean, I can't be more invested than you are. You know, like if you're a fighter, you can't expect the coach to be more invested than the fighter.
100% right.
Most of the work is going to be done by yourself. If you're the one that wants to fight, you got to do 90% of it, right? And then the coach is the one that separates you from being average to being great. And it's that difference maker, those small little difference makers that make someone into something. And you have to be willing to put in the work. You have to be willing to do this. And
when I tell people, it's like what you do when no one's looking.
Yeah.
You know, what you do. Are you running? No one's watching. Are you training? I mean, we all train when there's a lot of people in the gym. Are you doing the extra? What are you doing at night? What are you doing when no one's around?
With me, I will say that I do get a little frustrated when I see people give up on themselves because I can't fathom why you would do that. I can't fathom like why you would just say things are going hard. I'm just going to pack this in. I'm just going to let this person win. I'm going to let them submit me. I'm just going to cover up and let them punch me until the ref stops the fight. I can't wrap my head around why people would do that, just from a personal perspective. But you also have to take into account the humanity of people and just be, show some empathy for them, I guess, in ways. And
isn't it hard to show empathy when we're in the heat of battle?
But
when you've trained someone so hard and they've worked hard, the other factor is, as coaches, we see something in you. So when we see you in that position, right, it's hard to have empathy when I know you are better than that.
Yeah, and it's frustrating, I'll be honest with you. And a lot of the time you either have it or you don't. And that's a question you have to kind of answer to yourself. Like, why am I putting in all this hard work just to give up on myself or to pack it in or not give my all? And how can you expect a coach to give 100% into you if you're not going to give 100% when you go out there too? And I feel like that's a thing to take in consideration as an athlete too. You know, when it comes to mentality, for me, I heard a quote that kind of changed me a little bit. And I'm not really big into motivation. I think you either work hard and you're tough or like
something that's in you.
Yeah, I don't think like listening to like positive podcasts all the time. Sorry, no offense on like any podcast or anything. I don't think like listening to motivational speakers is really going to change you. I feel like you have to change yourself. But I did hear a quote that kind of spoke to me, and I was like, you know what? This is the mentality that I have. And it's winners win with what they have. So for me, the best that I can do is promise that I will show up every day. I'll promise you that I will give 100%. You know, I will rest when I need to rest, but I'm not going to rest when I don't need to rest. I'm going to work hard because I never want to be outworked. I never want to lose to someone because they did more than I did. They deserve it more. I don't want that. I want to leave no stone left unturned. But winners win with what they have. And when you go into camp and you go into train, things are going to go wrong. You know, maybe the partner I wanted to train with got hurt or didn't show up. Maybe I should have grappled more. Maybe I should have struck more. Oh, I got injured and I couldn't do this fight.
Listen, we're going to have so many things happening during a camp that we could sit here and go, what if, right? That's on that end. Then you also take in the human factor. My girlfriend's arguing with my mommy and daddy are this, my wife, whatever. I'm not making enough money. Whatever it is, there's a lot of what ifs that go on into that camp.
When you show up on fight night, winners win with what they have. And if you're meant to win that fight, you will win that fight. And it doesn't matter what went wrong. It doesn't matter what you could have done. This is what you have right now. And this is what you're going to take that and you're going to win with it because you're either that person or you're not that person. And sometimes you give 100% and you still fail. but you should have the mentality that I'm going to go in there and I'm with whatever I have right now when I walk out there to compete is enough for me to beat this person. And there's nothing that this person can do that will throw me off my game. There's nothing that they can do that will frustrate me and take me off of my main goal, which is to win. And there's nothing that will stop me from believing in myself. I don't care if you're better than me. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I will find a way to beat you despite you having more skills than me, despite you hitting harder than me, despite you having this background that's amazing in something. I will find a way to beat you. And this is the mentality that you need to have. And this is the mentality that I'm carrying with me now. I'm a little bit older, but I have this mentality now. It took me a long time to figure out, but I'm gonna take what I have right now and I'm going to use it to win. And whatever I don't have, doesn't matter. I'm not even focused on that at all. Right now, I have a job to do, and I'm going to get that job done.
How do you convey that to your fighters? Now, because, look, we talk about the skill, we talk about the tactical part, the training part. This is a whole different part that a lot of people don't touch for whatever reason with their fighter. I know you're close to your fighters. I've been in your gym. I've been around you. They respect you guys. You guys are like a family over there. Is this something you're working more to talk to your fighters about and express what you're thinking right now to help them get to the next level?
I mean, you can say, it just has to resonate. So a lot of pieces have to hit and it has to resonate with the people that you're working with. So 100%, it doesn't always resonate every single time.
Right.
But it can make a difference, and I think that one of the things that makes me a strong coach is that I went out there and I put myself on the line. And again, fighters don't always make great coaches, and I don't even know if I'm a great coach yet or where I'm at. I just know that I'm giving 100% of what I have to get where I am, because I always feel like there's ways that I could improve and ways that I could be better and things that I could do better. But I can only try my best to keep everyone mentally strong and keep a good, positive, strong outlook on things.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're building a culture, and as coaches, we want to be better. You know what? That's the game also. Like, I want to be better, like you want to be better. We learn from the people around us, that, to make us better coaches. But you're building a great culture over there. Your team, your fight team, the people that you train on a personal level over there, that take classes from the young kid, there's a culture from when you walk into your facility. And I've talked to you about this. And I come out of a sports background. I was not a fighter. I had 3 amateur fights, and I was not very good, okay? I had more grit than brains and skill. And, my road was to coach. But as an athlete, as a baseball player, I played at a high level and came out of culture. You walk into your gym. I've never talked to you about this, and this goes with mentality and culture and everything. How did you set that culture where you walk in, your guys are in your uniform, there's organization, the gym, it's like clockwork to watch your guys in the gym from the moment they get on the floor to train, by the time they leave and they are cleaning up your facility, and it's no talking, there's no yelling, it's just boom, 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 boom. Was it hard to create that culture in the beginning?
There's always times where you have to kind of check it and you have to kind of fix it. But one of the things that I try to purvey to these guys is that we win together and we lose together. So when one of us wins, we all win. When one of us loses, we all lose. So it's your job to stay positive and help your teammates get to that next level, because they're an extension of you and you're an extension of them. In terms of like time, again, people have jobs, people have lives, people have kids. We can't be having conversations.
Like yourself, you have a job, a wife and kids, and you're training fighters and you have family, and you have to blend that world.
Yeah, exactly. And it's balance. Everything is balance. So when we come here, we have like 3 hours at night. I have 3 hours to get it done, right? And you want to hang out afterwards? I'll give you guys the key. You can hang out and you can tell jokes and you can go hang out outside of the gym and be best friends there. But when we're here, this is when we get things accomplished. This is when we get things done. And we're not trying to hurt each other. We're not trying to win every round in practice. You have to try to grow in practice, try to get better at practice, try to help your teammate. Do the round with a guy that maybe you don't want to do a round with him because he's tough or you're having a bad day. Suck it up. Go out there and help this person, because when it's their time to help you, you got to help them. And I feel like everyone at my gym has like a pretty good relationship with each other. We have a lot of people that are very different than each other, you know, whether it's like I'm from a different part of the world. I have like the United Nations, you know, everyone's from all over the world. And
well, that's fight gyms. You don't know who's
next,
right? That's fight gyms.
But it's cool that like everyone comes from these different backgrounds. You get these guys that are nerds, and you get guys that are like kind of like tough guys, and they all led very different lives. And we all come together and we all help each other, and like nothing matters. It's just we're here to get the job done. We're here to do this, and the way that I run it is it's not story time. It's training time.
Yeah.
You know, if the story has something to do with what you're doing and you can keep it short and sweet, then do it. I told one the other day, it took me maybe like a minute or two. I kind of went on a little rant about mentality with the guys, and it's just, we have a job. People are paying.
Yeah, you take time for a coaching moment if you have to talk, you know. But when you started Fighting Arts Academy, okay, was the vision what it is today? And I'm going to go back to the organization of your gym, the culture of your gym. Guys in uniform, they all come wearing your stuff. They're not in wife beaters or the respect that they have. The way your facility is set up, was that the vision?
So that was my coach's idea, the uniform policy, and he has that at his gym, Fighting Arts Academy.
And I love that policy. I think when you walk into a place and this is our team, you represent something.
I love personal expression, but there's a lot of ways for you to personally express yourself. I'm old school. I like the old school method, like old school karate, where everyone's in a uniform, everything matches. You look like a team, you dress like a team, you feel like a team, and I really feel like that's important.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't want to wear the uniform of the team that you're on, then
you can't be here.
Yeah, you know, it's not a money making thing for me, because I don't really have like a high markup on the things.
No,
I sell.
I don't think it is that. I'm with you. Like I believe I'm old school like you, right? When you made a team, whatever it was, right, and they handed you your gear, that was the rite of passage, right? Because now, all right, oh man, I get to wear this stuff in school, around, and I'm part of that team. I think that's very important for identity, not only to build teamwork, but for anybody, fighters or athletes like that, even people personally. Look, how we look better, we compete better, you know, we feel better about ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We walk in the room, you know, you've been to events and you walk in where, you know, it's done in the locker room when they see you walk in, oh shit, we got to fight them today. We got to play them today.
I love the movie The Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
And the Riffs and the Warriors, and they all had their uniform, and that and like the traditional aspects of it is just, it's just really cool. I really like it, and I like the clean look, and I like the feeling of being on a team, and I like, if we could all wear the exact same thing, but I give people a little bit of options, you know, at the gym. And it's fun. You know, everyone for the most part likes each other and tries to help each other and tries to grow, and we're happy for each other when people win, and people get upset for people when they lose, and there's a lot of emotion involved in it, and a lot of good friendships. And
yeah, I mean, the people over there are building. I see it when people are getting ready to fight. There's a lot of support, which is really, really good over there. You know, especially when guys are getting ready to fight, guys or girls, because you have both over there that, you know, it's important to build them up and work with them and everything else. What do you think the next step is for you now as you're gaining momentum in the state? And I know you're a humble guy, okay? I mean, just in the last 6 months, numerous guys out of your gym, and I've been, you know, privy to work with you guys, which I really appreciate, and kind of see what's going on. But busy, constantly busy, and you got some real high level guys over there, not only jiu-jitsu, but, MMA guys. What do you see for yourself going forward now in some of your fighters?
I don't know. I want the best. I want it all. I want to see a few things, like obviously with business. A goal of mine is to get more students to make more money and live a good, comfortable life. But really what makes me happy is seeing people succeed. So if I have someone, and maybe training martial arts, you're not a fighter, but it helps you lose weight, get in shape, build confidence.
Yeah.
It's a good hobby. Then this is good. I feel like everyone kind of needs that adrenaline dump. You have your life at home and you have your job, but you need like that third thing that's like a hobby, that's like a release. So I want to make it an environment that's comfortable for people, everyday people, to come and train and kind of grow from there and be happy, and then move on to their regular lives and succeed there. And then when it comes to my athletes, I want to win at all costs.
The highest level.
I want to win at the highest level. I don't want to be like, here's something we can do and we can win at this small little local show, and that's all you'll ever be. Like, I want to see you make a living. I want to see you make some good money. I want to see you be happy and prosper, and I want to be a part of that, and I want to help you do it. And that's not necessarily even for myself or my own ego. It's just I like helping people, and I like...
Well, listen, as coaches, couple parts that you hit there, right? You have a lot of hats. Business owner, you're training people personally, you have a fight team at an elite level, okay? Professional level. You got fighters fighting, right up there. One, as coaches, we want to see people succeed because that's why we coach. I mean, that's why I coach, right? You take somebody, and not everybody's going to be a fighter. Not everybody walking into your gym wants to be a fighter. They want to say, maybe I'm around fighters, I can do it, I never did this, I want to train like a fighter, whatever their thing is. And then if you see somebody, who's maybe insecure or who's bullied or whatever the issues going on in the world today, why they're in that gym, they're overweight, it's a bucket list, whatever, and you can take them to that, you've done your job as a coach, right? I feel is that. Now, coaching athletes, right? Coaching teams to be successful, that's because you're a coach. Because you're not doing this just because I got nothing to do during the day. Yeah. But let me throw this at you. And I find it hard because you are running a business. That's your business over there. And I know where your passion is. All right, I know your passion is with your fight team, not to negate your business. It's there, but, as coaches, for me, look, you like myself, we can walk into any gym in the world right now and coach, right? It's not about that. It's about finding where my fit is as a coach and what I can do to make better. How do you balance the business and the coaching aspect? Because it is a tough balance. You got to make money for your family, right? That's your business. Yeah. And you have young kids and you're trying to be a dad, you're running around. We've had the stories, your son plays baseball, you love to go, we all, right? Those are the times we want to be around our family. This sport takes a lot, and the business takes a lot.
I structure it with different types of classes. So the levels and the type of classes that I have get significantly more intense as the night goes on, because most people don't want to be at the gym till 9 o'clock at night. They want to go home, they want to relax, they want to eat dinner. So if you really want it, you'll stay for the 8 o'clock class. That's basically the way that I look at it from a mental standpoint, is that like, you don't care what time the class is. That class could be at 2 a.m. You're going to show up and you're
fighters, and you know what, if a fighter's working, it gives them time to get there, and most of the fighters you're working with are working, they have jobs, they have lives, which is a whole nother dynamic of, how they prepare. A lot of your fighters are working full-time jobs over there.
Yeah, so I have kind of like an all levels class, usually first, and then I do like a mixed, like intermediate level class second, and then an advanced class third. So like we'll refine the basics. You know, I have like my bag classes and stuff like that, but I actually give real combos in my bag class, and I tell my fighters to take it too, because that's how you practice range, power, things like that. And I just give them little side objectives to do during the class that they can add in themselves. And you know, then we'll do our technique class, and then we'll do our hard work, our hard sparring, our hard rolling, stuff like that a little bit later. So it's about finding that time and making something that kind of works for everyone.
Yeah, it's hard when guys are getting ready to fight. Now you have multiple people getting ready to fight. And from the boxing end, I've had it a couple of times where I've had multiple people. I find it as a coach very difficult, because my feeling is that I might give more attention to somebody not intentionally than the other one really needs. It's hard to balance that time out and everything else. Now, when you have multiple fighters, and I know you have people helping, how do you balance that out? Because you're a tactical, organized type of guy, and you're thinking, you know, all the time. Like the last show, 3 guys fought.
Yeah. I mean, and different people need different levels
Yeah.
of attention.
Yeah.
And different people deserve different levels of attention. So I have some people that don't necessarily come in every day. They don't show up when they don't have a competition. They don't do things like that. And I got to check them, and I kind of got to be on them more than the guys that are there every day. But the guys that are there every day are going to be the ones that I'm going to focus on a little bit more than the other ones.
Yeah.
Just because they deserve it more. And it's a better use of my time. And you gotta fill that 90% yourself, and then leave the coaches to fill the rest. You know, I can't just account for everything, and I can't care about it more than you do. And it's okay to be a casual. I think that most people are casuals. I think that you need casuals, and I have a lot of people that will never fight a day in their life that come in and train and work really hard and are good training partners actually for the guys that fight. I remember there was an interview with Demetrius Johnson, who's one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. And they're like, who's your favorite sparring partner? He's like, actually, my favorite guy to work with actually doesn't fight. He's a plumber.
Yeah.
And he's just really good. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting that someone would say that, because it's true sometimes. That people that are casuals actually make really good training partners. Now, maybe they might do a round and take a round off, and
but
and
you know
do
what?
stuff like that.
Coming out of the gyms in New York back in the day, there were guys that were not fighters that would, you know, if they decided to fight, they would spar with our fighters, and there'd be wars in the gym.
Yeah, they fill a role,
You know,
and it's important.
Yeah, definitely with that. Your coaching team, got to talk about Roger Denton. You guys. You know, I'm getting to know both of you, right? So you both have different styles. You know, Roger's old time.
Yeah.
You know, and but the dynamic works. Tell me how that came about. Bringing Roger in.
I've known Roger for a really long time. So my first job, well, I had a few like little jobs, but like my first like long time job that I had was I worked at a gym called Creative Health and Fitness. And the guy that owned it, his name's Dan Gurman. He had like a little mat room at the bottom of the gym. And I used to go in there and wrestle and train with my friends while I was, you know, not working. And Roger came through there, and I met him probably in like 2005, I think. So I've probably known him for like 20 years. And that's when I first met him, and he was already like, I think maybe like a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, like pretty involved, like traveled all over the place, learned from a lot of really high level people. And with me, I was still focused on wrestling, so I kind of knew him a little bit. And so I went on and I did my fight career. I had my coaches up in Massachusetts that I really liked. With me, I feel like when you're a coach, you have a job to do. But if the person's doing your job, I feel like loyalty is a big thing. and building a system and just having coaches that are comfortable with you and you're comfortable with them. So I had a really good thing going with them. So I like to have them as my people. And I came back to Connecticut from Massachusetts and I decided to open up my own gym. And then I saw Roger was kind of in between positions. And he started coming in, coaching a little bit. And then I was like, okay, this guy's really someone that I need on my team. And we kind of grew from there. And we are very different. And the thing about that is good, honestly, is that some people gravitate more towards him and some people gravitate more towards me in terms of coaching and leadership and guidance. And it kind of gives a good balance. And then if one of us has a question about something or how to guide things or how to prepare or who needs to go with who or how to fix something, we don't be like, oh, I'm the man in charge. He doesn't, we'll ask. I'll be like, hey, I'm kind of like stumped on this. How would you fix this? And I'll ask him and vice versa too.
Yeah, I think honestly as coaches, for me, I want people who are better than me around me. If we're all the same, we're not going to get to the next level.
Yeah.
And look, personalities, we deal with personalities all day long as coaches, We got to be able to balance them. But you know what? Working with Rogers is his style is just it's something that I kind of come out of that, we're going to hug you once in a while and we're going to kick you in the ass also. We're not going to sit there and baby you all the time as a coach. You know what I mean? We're going to pick our moments like that. Now, you talked about, I don't think I ever asked you this, opening the gym. Was there always a thought maybe after your career to open a gym or to be into coaching? Or was it like, my career's done, I did what I did, was there like a time after you competing as a professional that there was a void there or, was it right into coaching?
Well, with me, to be honest with you, it was just like a lot of frustration based on the fight industry that maybe got to me a little bit. I did well and I won my first 11 pro fights. And then I got, I won the XFC title. And then I got an opportunity to fight for the World Series of Fighting title versus Justin Gaethje, who ended up being UFC interim champion. And I had to wait, I think, like 10 months for that fight. So I had to sit out for a while. And then I ended up fighting him. And it was a good fight, but I lost. And then I had to wait 10 more months to do that. So that was like 20 months over a year and a half. And I only had one fight. And I only got half of my paycheck because I lost and I was getting a little frustrated. So I was just trying to think of ways that I could maybe make a little money on the side to do this. And then I fought a couple more fights and I was dealing with a lot of injuries and a lot of adversity. And like it was like far and few between. So I decided to open up my own gym and it ended up working out in the long run. But I will say if you want to be a competitor, it's kind of hard when you're coaching full time too and running your own business is kind of tough. But I'm very grateful that I did it because you see all the people around me and the relationships I built and the business that I built. So it's in the end it was the right decision. And I went back to fighting after I opened a gym and I had a lot of great moments too. So I know that the reason why I opened a gym, if that's what you really want to know, is I graduated college. I went to Western New England. I actually have that on.
Yeah,
right now.
repping the shirt today.
So I love the team over there. I love the coaches. I like all those guys. But I worked for the History Channel for like 3 years before I went full time into fighting, and I was working a corporate job, and it actually like wasn't that bad. I really like the people that I work with. I thought they were cool and funny, and I made like a lot of really good friends there. But I didn't feel, for me, a sense of fulfillment there. And when I'm training and I'm training other people, like this is what I would do for free. When with training, like this is what I do as a hobby. So why can't I do my hobby as a job? And that's really what I was thinking. And one thing that I've noticed, in this world is if you could make a lot of money if you're willing to work smarter or you're willing to work harder. If you have one or the other, you can live a good life, a prosperous life. If you have both, then you're gonna knock it out of the park. And I feel like I can do this. I can work smarter. I can work harder, and I can do what it takes to make it here, doing something that I was paying other people to do. You know,
Right.
I wasn't even necessarily just doing it for free. You know, I always paid my coaches. I never was like, oh, I'm a fighter. Like, could I just train for free? Like, I never said that. I always paid them. I always gave them whatever they asked. And I was like, you know what? This is kind of what I'd like to do. It's not necessarily that I hated what I did before. I didn't think it was that bad. Like I said, I had a lot of good experiences. I met a lot of really good people. But what made me happy is doing this. And I was like, if I could just kind of like do what I like every day, then I'll feel really fulfilled. And I feel like if you're good enough at anything, you can make a living doing it.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're having great success right now, not only off of your career, but, you know, now as you going into another part of the aspect of the sport. Is the itch to fight again there?
With
Does that
me,
does that go away as a fighter? Because you're around it every day. It's not like you're working back at the History Channel in an office. You're in the gym every day. You're training yourself, right? You're still doing forms. You're training physically still. You're doing your strength and conditioning. You're in good shape. Is it there sometimes in the head that it clicks, man, like one more time maybe? Or, you know, because I don't think that goes away from a fighter. I don't think you're any different than anybody else.
it's who I am.
Yeah.
It's who I am.
It's ingrained in you, right?
Fighters want to fight, and people that, you know, even though you said, oh, you only fought 3 amateur fights, like you probably still think about doing it again all the time too, you know, and maybe not. But
you know what I think about? I think about if I had the places and the opportunities that are around me today, maybe it would be different.
Yeah.
You know, maybe like, you know what, we can go back in time and turn the clock back and see what could have been. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, I had mentality, I had grind, I had grit. That's in you, no matter what. You know that as a coach when you work with people.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, back to you.
You know, I'm 39, so I'm a little bit on the older side when it comes to fighting and competing. But I never really took a lot of damage when I fought.
Yeah.
You know, maybe one fight I got hit a lot. But even then, I never got knocked out cold in a fight. I never had any like serious injuries. Like I've been banged up, like little injury, my back, my neck were kind of messed up. It made it really hard to train. Train hard, you know, but I go and I'm like, you know what, maybe I'll just do jiu-jitsu. And then I go do a jiu-jitsu tournament. That's like one of the hardest tournaments in the world. And I kill it. I do great, you know, especially for like an MMA guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm in here and I'm like competing with some of the best guys in the world. Like I still have it. I train with these guys that are really good. I still have it. But when it comes down to it right now is priorities. Am I willing to give up everything I have going on in my life, put all the people that are counting me on the side so I can focus on myself? And then I have to cut weight and I have to get back down to my weight class and I have to do all this and I have to really, really prepare for this. And the answer is that I just don't know. You know, it's not a yes. It's not a no. I retired once before from fighting because I got frustrated. And that was a moment of like a little mental weakness with me.
But this sport wears on you. Like the back end of the sport. It's not the training. It's not the camaraderie in the gym. It's not your coaches. It's the back end of the business. Okay, we're going to fight you next month. No, it'll be another day. And then we're not going to pay you this. Or you know what? No, we're not putting you on this show. Blah, 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 blah. You know it. You deal with it a little differently than, you know, most people. You know, in boxing, it's the same thing. We go through, you know, we got a fighter who's hot and then all of a sudden he's not fighting.
Yeah.
You know, or they're not paying him enough, or, you know, the politics of the sport get involved.
The answer is if I did do it, I would do one more. I'm not ready to close that door.
Yeah.
I'm not ready mentally to close that door, but will 100% happen? I just don't know. That's the correct answer. And when it comes to fighting and it comes to money and opponents and things like that, I've never really been a guy that takes too much of that into account. When I first started fighting, I had fights where I show up to the fight, I don't really know anything on the guy. I don't have any video. I show up, I thought that guy's name was Mike and his name was John. I was like, oh, I didn't have your name right. And I still fought him. You know, it's in my opinion, it's like I should be able to figure this out. I don't need to know everything about your life. If I want to do this, I want to be one of the best in the world. And if I can't beat this guy at this local fight, then how could I expect to beat these guys at the highest level? So if I fight someone that's not good, it's ring time and I get comfortable and I get to shake it out. And if I fight someone that's really good, it's adversity and I'll grow from that. And it's a good challenge and I kind of learn where I'm at. So I was just saying yes to like pretty much every fight. I think I had like, the only time I ever said no to a fight was when they gave me like options of like multiple opponents, and I just tried to pick the one like business wise that I thought
that made
the most sense.
Yeah.
Like the guy with the best record, or like, hey, I need a finish in. Like one time, a guy told me like, hey, if you finish this fight, you'll get a big contract. So I had two guys that were equal in skill, and I'm like, this guy's been finished more times. I'll fight him instead. Yeah. You know.
But that's the business end of fighting.
But like. You know, I fight because I love it. I don't fight because I want to make money or like I care what people think about me. Like the people that hate you are going to hate you no matter what. So if you lose, oh, you were never good. When you win, oh, you couldn't beat this guy, you couldn't beat that guy, you couldn't do this. And the people that love you are going to love you no matter what. So it's like you got to...
It's only your peers that you really care about their opinions.
Yeah, you got to just go out there and you just got to lay it all on the line. And another thing that I wanted to touch on too in mentality is like not overthinking things too much, right? People overthink things all the time when they're fighting. They're like, oh, well, I need to do this, or I have this ritual, or I need my lucky shirt, or I need this, or
well,
like,
that's a fighter thing.
The guy in the back said this to me, or this happened, but like none of that matters. None of it matters. All that matters is that you're strong here. And any intrusive thoughts that you have, guess what? That person that's waiting for you to walk out that door is having those same thoughts too. So you have to be the person that controls it better. It doesn't matter if your coach shows up or doesn't show up or something goes wrong or you can't get this or like the shorts don't fit you right. None of that matters, right? What matters is that you're ready to go out there and you're ready to win no matter what. Nothing else matters. And you have to put that in your head that my only goal is to win and nothing else that happens this entire day is going to affect what happens to me. I used to have teammates that fought on the same card as me. And I would tell other people on my team, I'll be like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I have no emotional connection to what they're going through till after I'm done doing what I need to do. And that's just the mentality that I carry into my life, and maybe it's a little selfish.
That comes out of your coaching, and I agree with that. Like, look, once you get to the night of the fight, nothing else matters. We set up, we get ready, and this is it. You're prepared or you're not. You know that in your head. If you had a great camp and you had good coaching and preparation, what's going to happen is going to happen. I'm prepared. I'm going out there. You got to drag me out. Like you said, you know, I'm gonna give 150%, and what happens. It's the fight game. Anything can happen in the fight game, right? How do you convey that to your fighters? Because today, you know as well as I do, right? You know as well as I do. Fighters are an intricate bunch of people, man. They want to wear a certain color, wrap my hand a certain way, don't do this, don't do that. I need Johnny over here, give me the bottled water. I had one fighter wouldn't drink anything but certain water. I'm like, bro, I can't find that friggin' water. Put it in your bag then. What the hell are you talking about? Water's water.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's figuring people out is tough, man. It's one of the
So is that part of your preparation now with these fighters? Do you have that conversation before?
I definitely have people that I definitely need to watch my words a little bit more around, and I need to do everything a little bit right, or else things don't go. But if I like just disqualified everyone from fighting for every little quirk they had, or
Yeah, you have an
something that
empty
wasn't
gym.
100%, I wouldn't have any fighters, you know? And that would be myself included, because I've had my quirks and like my little things and things I've done wrong that I look back at and I'm like, man, that was stupid. You
Yeah.
know, like I wish that I didn't do that.
But you're also older and growing and more mature, and you're in a different. Have you ever had to cut a fighter out of your gym or that you were working with? Did you ever have to say, like, this is not working out, you got to go?
Yeah, I've had fighters that I've kicked out of my gym. And like I've had people that came to me and like were like, I'm ready to fight. And I'm like, you're not ready to fight. And they got mad and left. You know, or
Can't have that on our watch.
you know, I have fighters that like I'm trying to give them advice and they're second guessing everything that I say. So afterwards, we're just like, you know what, maybe you should go somewhere else, you know, and it's not like a personal thing, but you're not going to be able to click with every single person that walks through the door.
No.
And some people, if you're a type of guy, like I said, I'm very receptive to input, but if you're the one that likes to call your own shots, then it's not a,
You're in the
it's
wrong
not
place.
it's not a good fit, because I'm going to be the one that's going to guide you.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, we're going to kind of wrap it up, but I want you to hit a couple points on mentality, fighter's mentality, dealing with adversity. I want you to hit a couple of bullet points off here that, you know, you're looking for and what you're working on with your guys here in the future.
Okay, I had a few notes down here that I had a little things that I wanted to talk about. Okay. So I kind of talked with about a few of these things, but I had like in terms of like fighting and just doing it, I wanted to ask you, yeah, this was funny. Like, how often do you have people come in your gym and they're like, I am going to be a champion at this? And I'm like, have you ever trained before? And they're like, no. And they're like, I've been in a lot of street fights though.
Yeah, we get, when people come in and they want to start training, you know, I think it's like anything else, like growing up, and I'll use baseball, you wanted to play in the World Series, right? We all played that backyard game, right? 3-2, bases loaded, 2 outs, hit the home run, right? All fighters want to talk about being a champion. They don't understand what it takes. Street fighting is not what we do. So I don't even listen to that. I'm like, okay. And I'm an old guy, right? And like I said, so like, if I could smack you in the head and smack you around and push you into a corner, you're not a good street fighter, I guess. You know what I mean? It's like, but yeah. So my question to them is, when someone says they want to be a world champion, I say, what do you want to do about it? Or what you're willing to do. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to get up at 4:30 in the morning and run? Well, I got to go to school. Okay, well, you don't go to school at 4:30 a.m., right? Are you willing to train after school? Are you willing to eat right? And then once you start hearing, you know, like, oh, I can't or whatever, look, then you're making excuses not to be a champion. A champion don't make excuses. You know, and I use the term, like, Floyd Mayweather has a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but he runs at 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning. That having money doesn't mean that you have the will or the go-to to get up and go run at 3 o'clock in the morning when no one's around.
Mm-hmm.
Or he'll go train, like you said, at, you know, middle of the night, whatever it is. Come on. As coaches, right, I've been in the gym on Christmas Day, Thanksgiving Day, Easter Day, middle of the night, 4:30 in the morning, no sleep, cold. You know, the story, you know, you got the same stories as me. So the champion thing, yeah. What are you willing to do? That's my answer to them.
And then you put those guys in the cooker and they melt, right?
Some melt. Then you look at a kid, right? Maybe some melt. And then you see something in a kid. Maybe it's not a lot in the beginning. But the thing with being a champion is you have to keep coming back. Okay? You have to keep coming back to the gym. And if you keep showing up and you keep showing up and you keep showing up, okay, now we got something. Now we can work with something, right? And you keep showing up and you keep learning. That's the difference in some of them. And then as you get closer to fighters, you know what makes them tick. You know their DNA, how they're built, if they're going to fold. You know as a fighter, you work with people. You know some guys, no matter how much they train, are going to fold like a house of cards in the wind. And you know some guys that are going to go down to the last second, kicking and biting.
I think it's with that, it's like some of those people might actually be serious and they might actually make something out of themselves. But the level of confidence that they have when they walk in and they look me dead in the eyes and they tell me that, I want to transfer that over to some of my fighters that have so much skill and so much promise. You guys are so good. You work so hard, but you're weak here. And you need to be almost delusional with what you can accomplish and what you can do to actually make it happen.
So, weak here, right? Go back to adversity. And I'm older, okay? Technology was not there, right? Having everything at our beck and call was not there. You know, people came home from school, parents worked. You open the refrigerator, it was what it was. You didn't call Grubhub to say, hey, I want this, that, or... No, there was none, right? Mm-hmm. If you had equipment that was given to you, it was what it was. You didn't have 20 dicks, go online, get this. You had to make do with what you had, right? Like what you were talking about, what makes a winner, right? What I had, where I came from is what made me a better player. For me, I was overlooked around a lot of people. So I had to work harder. I worked harder when no one looked. Was I delusional? Yeah, I was delusional a lot of things. But I ended up getting what I wanted, okay? And that's all that mattered. When people say you couldn't, I'm like, okay. Yeah. That's the best thing you could say to me. And I don't want to quote Dana White because I know he has his quote. But, yeah, tell me I can't do something. I'm going to do it. Fuck that. That's motivation. That's a fire to me. But I think today, because everything is so, there's talent, right? A lot of talent out there, right? But these kids don't grow up hard. And what I don't mean growing up hard in neighborhoods where they're rough neighborhoods. They don't grow up hard appreciating, like, if they get a nice pair of sneakers, what their parents had to do to get them that, or to give them the opportunity to come take a class at your gym where their parents are working. You know what I mean? To get that. And then when they finally get it, to really appreciate the opportunity to work with that. And you know what? You are a little different because people walk into your gym and maybe they know your story, maybe they don't. So they're hoping maybe something that you did can resonate to them.
I do feel like that. I feel like one of the reasons why maybe I resonate with people, and I could be wrong on this, but is that I wear my adversity on my sleeve, or my lack of a sleeve, right? Is what I say all the time.
Okay.
And there's no saying that you'll never hear me say this ever a day in my life, that I had a harder path than anyone else. You'll never hear that, because every single person is fighting battles that we don't know about.
Of course. That's 100%. Okay. Forget about the adversity. You worked for it. Nobody gave you 19 wins. Yeah. Nobody said, okay, you didn't fight patsies. You didn't fight in, tomato cans or whatever the terminology you want to use. You had to work. You know what? To hear that you lost 17 bouts the first bout and to keep going back in the gym. Kids today wouldn't do that. Tell me you got one kid in your gym right now who'd lose 17 fights, 17 matches, and would come back in the gym.
We got to see. I'm training them too well for that. But
yeah,
I was different. I was different back then, man. I didn't I just had that in my head that no one can break me, and we're in this world where we need instant gratification. If things don't go right away, people are used to getting, like you said before, what they want right away,
Yeah.
But are you willing to put in the time doing things you don't want?
Well, I'm going to throw another thing at you, right? Do you think, and not you, do you think if a fighter or an MMA fighter or a combat sport fighter lost 17 amateur matches, or a coach is still going to work with them? Most coaches are probably going to say, this is not for you. This, you know what? Or why are you coming back still? Me, I don't know. I would have to look at the person and really say, you got to dwell into their DNA and see what they're really about. Because if they're working, okay, I can work with that. But I don't think people would give the time today to that.
I will say in one area that I was very fortunate and very lucky, and maybe another coach would have done this, but for me, my coach did this for me, and it really resonated with me. And he's still kind of like a father figure to me, and like a very important person in my life. But I wasn't fighting, I was wrestling, but it was still important. I was at home,
preparation.
and I was in front of all the people I went to school with getting destroyed in these wrestling matches and not doing well. But this spoke to me that I had never won a match, and I went to a tournament and I was right about to win my first match, and I was beating the guy, and like at the last second I messed up and I ended up losing. And my coach, he yelled at me. He got mad at me. He was like, hey, you could have won that one. You need to get your head out of your ass. He said it in a very not polite way.
Yeah.
But with me, like, that's okay with me. I like when people talk with that because it gets the message across. And I was like, wow, I don't know why he expects this from me, but he does. And it made me feel like I had a role. And it made me feel like if I didn't work hard and I didn't try my best, that I was disappointing the other people in the team. And now it's not about like wins or losses with him because I know him now on a different level. It was
Right.
about seeing something in me that maybe I didn't see in myself.
Yeah, so that coach sees something. Look, we throw Tom Brady out there, was a third, fifth string, whatever he was, and look how many Super Bowl. Somebody saw something in him.
Yeah.
How do you keep going and everything else? I think there's a lot of unique stories out there. I just don't think there's a lot of kids cut that way to really keep coming back and saying, you know what? I'm back. I'm not leaving. And that's, for me as a coach, those are the kids I want around me. I want those. I want guys who are, one, like you said, loyal. I want grinders. I want hardworking guys. I want underdogs. I want guys who are fighting for a reason, for a cause. Maybe it's food. Maybe it's ego. Maybe it's whatever they're going through, their mother, their girlfriend, their sister, their brother, their neighborhood, their country. That's when you get a fighter. And you start putting all of that, and then you have some talent, obviously, but all that stuff that you can't train, that's got to be in you. That's in you from the day you're born. That DNA is in you. All right? That's not something as coaches we can build. Can we make you a little stronger mentally? Yeah, some guys we can. Okay? But, if you having heart, you having the ability to give your all, to push yourself beyond the limit of pain and perseverance and sacrifice. And this sport with a lot of people takes a lot from you. You have a family now, you have children, you have a wife. I know, from being in that, it takes a lot. You got to balance, and, being there for your fighters, being there for your team is just as important as being there for your family.
Yeah, these are decisions you have to make yourself.
Yeah.
You ever, I know we're trying to wrap up the show, but have you met Sweet Lou at our gym?
Possibly.
Okay, so Sweet Lou is an interesting story to me because his name Luis Gomes. Good kid, grew up in Bridgeport, moved to Shelton, Portuguese. His family, Portuguese immigrants, came to America. Hardworking, good, loving family. He was born with cerebral palsy.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
you know
I
Lou.
meant, yes.
And you know, the thing about Louis is he lost his first 27 wrestling matches over years before he finally won one. And he never gave up.
No, he shows up in your gym. He's working hard. Got a great attitude.
I'm like, why are you so happy? Why every day he shows up with a smile on his face, ready to work, and no complaints. You'll never hear a complaint from him like, oh, I can't do this move. He's always, I'm going to figure out a way to make this move work for me, or ask like, hey, how can I make this move work for me? Always in a great mood, good attitude, and then you see things happen to him. I talk to him about his life, and unfortunate things happen to him in his life, and he takes it all in stride, and he has a positive attitude, and I look to people like him as an example for me to feel blessed
and keep moving
and be lucky that I'm here on earth, and if I'm here and I'm breathing, then I can do something. And it might not be as good as the next guy by industry standards, and it might take me longer, but I'm going to get the job done because that's what I came here to do. I'm going to get this job done. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to take what I have, and I'm going to win with that, and I'm going to give myself the best life I can with what I have.
Well, on that note, we're going to wrap it up. Nick Newell, Fighting Arts Academy in Milford. If you haven't checked out his gym, check him out. He's online. I'm sure now, as someone giving motivational, which you're not really, but mentality, actually some great quotes out there today, some great thoughts for fighters and not only fighters, but people. Tell them where we can find you, Nick, on social media.
Yeah, I'm on social media at Notorious Newell on Instagram. Somebody hacked my Twitter, so I lost that. So you can find me on Instagram, and then you can find my gym, FAA_CT. We're in Milford, Connecticut. Come by, get some training, whether you're a casual or you want to be professional. We have a great team, and we really work really hard to give out the best product that we can.
All right. Appreciate it. Nick Newell, again, at Coach's Corner here. Train hard, train smart, and we'll see you in the next round.